for joining me. Yay.
Welcome. We are here at last.
Yes, I've been wanting to draw with you for a while now since I started these because I just love your artwork so much.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's such an honour to be invited because I've looked up to you ever since I very, very first started out.
Oh, that's
And I got your
sweet.
book about making art my career when I was still in my old job. Just used to spend my worst days in my old job imagining not doing that and doing this instead. And then I just recklessly and impulsively made a decision to quit, and here we are.
Still alive, still going.
Still going, yes.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm so pleased for you.
So I have decided, as usual, to stick with my favourite drafting film. So
Okay.
I saw you'd gone pastel matte with it. I almost
Yes.
always draw on drafting film because I love the smooth surface, and every time I use something else I'm like, nah, not for me. So
it's very interesting to see the differences, you know. So I like that you're using something different to me so we can see, you know, how different the color pencil takes, I suppose, and technique.
yeah, it's just lovely and smooth, and I find I've tried pastel matte and I love what everybody else does on pastel matte, but I just end up getting cross with it. I find it really, really hurts my hands.
Really?
I'm quite sensitive with sort of how things feel on my hands, and I just can't get to grips with it at all. It gives me really, really bad pain in my fingers and my wrists. So
is it because you have to push a lot harder, maybe?
No, I try and use really, really light pressure on it, like I would if I was working on drafting film. But even when I do that and really consciously do it, it still gives me quite a lot of pain. And I figure I draw because I love it. So if something
not
hurts,
because it's painful.
Don't do it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so I just introduce yourself to everybody and say who you are and what you do and why you do it. It'll be so interesting to know.
So I'm Harry. I am a part-time pet portrait artist. The rest of the time I work in client care for a local independent veterinary practice. I, a little bit like you, I didn't come through the conventional route of always doing art. I used to be a scientist, and then just a series of events have led me here, and I couldn't be happier, really. I like the balance that although I'm not full-time doing my art, I like the balance of getting some contact, a little tiny bit of contact with people at the vets, and getting to get to know their pets and everything like that, and help out there. And then I can come home to my sanctuary of my drawing board and have a sort of a quieter time doing this. So I started drawing in 2020. So for me, the pandemic turned out to be quite a good thing. Complete life-changing thing. And I've just never looked back, really. It was a complete accident. There was no conscious effort of, oh, I want to start drawing, I want to do this. It was just just a strange sequence of events which could have been really unfortunate but have actually turned out to be a really positive thing, which is rather lovely.
Yeah, the pandemic definitely gave quite a lot of people time to really, I guess, self-evaluate.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't go anywhere or do anything like in your normal life that I guess would otherwise be distracting. You then had to really think, okay, what do I want to do every day? You know, I actually love drawing. I love painting. I've always loved this and I haven't done it in years because of so and so, you know. And I think the pandemic gave a lot of people the opportunity to go back to things that they used to love.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of wanted to have that, not being able to do all the things that I normally do, but the job that I had at the time, everything carried on completely as normal. There was no change at all. But I've always been a horsey girl, and I bought a new horse, a new
Ooh.
baby horse,
Oh.
literally a week before the first lockdown in the UK. And I booked 2 weeks holiday from my day job so that I could spend all of my time bonding with my lovely baby horse.
Mhm.
And my 2 weeks holiday exactly coincided with our first lockdown.
Wow,
And
that's lucky.
I wasn't, well, my horse is on
Or not
livery,
lucky.
so it meant that we weren't allowed to go to the stables at all. So I had 2 weeks of not being at work and being housebound and slowly driving my husband up the wall, I would say. So I was just messing around in the house, moving things about, generally being irritating. And I found a picture that I'd drawn several years earlier for our local village show, and I put
Mhm.
it on my social media because I was bored. And a friend of mine went, "Oh, I like that. Will you draw my horses and her dog?" And I was like, "Well, I've got nothing else to do for the next two
Mhm.
weeks. All my plans have changed." So I did it, and I loved it, and I've never stopped.
That's fantastic. That's just how it starts, isn't
Yeah,
it? Just putting yourself out there. You literally don't know what will come of it.
exactly. And it's been completely life changing for me. I never thought that this would be something that I could do.
Mhm.
It never occurred to me to pursue art, sort of back in the days of school when you're making decisions about what you want to
Mhm.
do. It was just not an option really that was ever put forward.
Yes, it was.
So
It was never really, you weren't also told you shouldn't do it, sort of, but you also not told that you could do it. It was like if you
yes,
wanted to do art, then an art teacher. You become an art teacher. That was the thing, isn't it?
yes. It was just, I think, I know it's probably the same for a lot of people, but when I did GCSE art, and I've always liked drawing, actually horses. I just like drawing horses, and I like
Mhm.
drawing realistic horses, and that's not really what the syllabus wanted from us. So
Mhm.
it was just what I did wasn't what they liked. So that was that. It was sort of like, oh, okay, you've done that. Nah. So yeah, never encouraged, wasn't ever considered as an option to do it any further than that.
Mhm.
So I just didn't really think any more about it for about 20
Mm.
years.
Yeah. Gosh, it's crazy. Just those little things and how we're brought up just affect literally the rest of our lives. You could have been an artist for 20 years.
I could have been, but I think things have changed so much,
Yeah,
haven't they? I mean, I'm
it definitely has.
definitely showing my age, but we didn't have social media when
No,
I was at school. I
same.
didn't have a computer when I was at school. So
Yes.
it just wasn't a thing. So when I looked at doing anything at all with art, it just, there weren't sort of online tutorials and things like that to follow. It was you go to college or university and study it, and I just couldn't find anything that sounded like my sort of thing.
Mm. All sort of worth the money as well, because I think
Ah,
because I've never been formally taught either, and I've heard that you have to do like loads of crazy projects like 3D artwork and
yeah,
I don't know, recycling things, and none of that really appeals to me. I
no,
just want to do like traditional stuff. Like I want to traditionally learn about color theory and portraits and autonomy or yeah, like people's faces and animals' bodies, and like that's what I want to learn, but they don't really teach that, I think, in like as a degree.
no,
You have to go to a
exactly.
workshop or something specifically for that, don't you?
That's exactly it. You find the things that you're interested in, and then it's just not, they liked big, bold, abstract, colourful,
Mm.
and that's just not ever been the thing that interested me. So yeah, just I think it's horses for
Yeah.
courses, they say, and it just wasn't my kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So how comes you've chosen this dog eye for us today?
I really, really, really love drawing eyes. It sounds a little bit cliche, the sort of window to the soul, but I think they are. I think you can get so much personality from an eye, and it's also when you're drawing a portrait, it's instant life on your page, isn't it? You straight
Yeah.
away got something peeping back at you, really, and that I find really motivating when I'm working, to have that sort of a starting point and a sort of that life and the personality that's there.
Do you always start with the eye then when you're doing your
I do,
portraits? The eyes.
yes, yeah. It's a bit weird, you know, when you've got that sort of when it's not got an eye in, and some people sort of finish with them, don't they? And for me, it
Yes.
always looks a little bit creepy when there's no eye there. So I just like to get the eyes in, and then I've got like a person there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Person,
Yes,
animal.
definitely. No, I'm the same. I like to start with the eye too, because I also feel like that's sort of the central point to the whole piece. So if you can
Yes.
get that right, then everything else around it, one, will take less time because you don't have to focus on it, I guess, as much as the eyes and like the nose. I always like to focus on the central features first, and then everything else can be less detailed and less, I guess, time consuming because you've done the hardest part. Um, that's how I like to work anyway.
Yeah. I think it's the part you engage with,
Mm,
isn't it? If you look
mm,
at when you look at a portrait, or you look at a person, if you're having a conversation, or you're looking with at your pet, or having a conversation with your pet, you look at their eyes, don't you?
mm,
So that's, to me, like the really significant part. And I think if you get the eyes right, everything else just sort of follows on.
mm, mm,
And you don't, if you did it last and then you got something wrong with it, then you kind of the gosh, do I start again with this
mm,
point? Whereas if they're in and you know you've got them right, and you've got that feel and that personality there,
mm.
you can then just flow, can't you?
No.
And it all sort of all comes together, all comes together in the end.
Yes, exactly. So talk me through your process then. So what have you like started drawing first and, colors you're choosing?
Um, I'm a slightly erratic worker. I work
Hmm.
all over the page. I have to, so you know, when people draw in lovely sections and it all looks super neat and lovely, and then
Hmm.
it just
Hmm.
grows out from a point. I just can't work with like that. I've
Hmm.
really, really tried, and I just can't do it. Um, I almost need a little bit of everything there to be
Hmm.
able to visualize the whole piece and to get my tones right.
Hmm.
So I start just putting very light layers down, just sketching in where I think things are, and then gradually build the layers as I know that I've got things in the right places, and um, just sort of go from there. Really,
Yes,
it's
yes. So are you doing
slightly erratic.
lightest first? Is that how the drafting film works? You have to do the lighter colors first.
No, you don't have to. I put in whites first because I think then it just, the way that I use the white polychromos, and that sort of stops pigment from properly being able to go down on top of it.
Right, okay.
But drafting film works beautifully for any subtraction techniques. So you can
Yes.
put dark colours down, and although you can't do sort of, you can't draw light over dark, so like on pastel mat you can put a lovely sort of light, a whisker down or a highlight down, a
Hmm.
grey bit of fur, and it shows. On drafting film you just wouldn't be able to see it.
Hmm.
But you can use either, so I use a lot of my Tombow eraser, or the slice tool, so the ceramic slice blade. And
Yes.
on drafting film, it is like butter. It just glides over
Mm.
it. It doesn't damage the film at all. And you can get really, really beautiful textures and highlights, and then you can work over the bits of where you've removed the pigment and add other colours back in. And it's just a lovely, lovely way of layering and
Mhm.
texturing fur. So it's, I like that you can get details in very, very quickly. There's almost no grain on drafting film.
Right.
It's really, really smooth. So you don't have any of that sort of smoothing process that you do with the pastel mat. You can get
Yes.
your details in pretty
Like it's
much
almost smooth
immediately.
straight away.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely smooth straight away. So those details can go straight in there. And it's details that I like drawing.
Me too.
The more detail I can get in, the better. The
Mhm.
parts that I find really difficult is if you've got an expansive area without real detail. So if you're drawing a horse, it's the neck, sort of that big neck where you're like, oh, there's not really a huge amount going on there, and I don't really know, like that. I get really overfaced by that. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Or if you're drawing like a body of a dog or something like that, I find that really, really tricky. But if it's just constant detail, then I'm in my element. I love it.
So what's been your most like complicated or hardest commission that you've done so far? Challenging, let's say.
Oh my goodness. So does it have to be a commission?
No.
Because there's definitely one thing that is springing to my mind.
Yeah.
So I decided one Christmas that I was going to draw a chicken. So I'd taken a photo at our local farm shop of a chicken. It was a good photo, which is unusual for me because I'm a terrible, terrible photographer. We'd gone there to get some cake with my family. It was lovely. And I thought, oh, do you know what? It's a good photo. It's nice and clear. Let's do something different. Give myself a break for from commissions, and I'll spend my Christmas drawing this chicken. Oh my God, the feathers. Like, I love detail, but I just was constantly lost in those feathers. It was unbelievably hard. Like my brain would just see the feathers and freeze. I don't even know what's going on here.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, that was so hard. It's the first time I've ever had to just put a portrait away in a drawer and take a break from it. I was like, I don't even know what's going on.
Have you ever finished it then?
I have finished it, and she stayed in a drawer for about a month, just for me to forgive her for the pain that she put me through. And then I went back to her and I was determined. But I love the result. I think it's one of my best that I've done, but it was a real slog to push through and get that finished, and it was just purely the feathers.
Did you develop a little bit of a technique with it then? The feathers?
Biscuits. No.
Okay.
I didn't. I just couldn't get my head around a process because I was just constantly getting lost in everything that I was doing. So it was a real just an absolute sheer determination to finish it more than anything else.
Did you just try and go like each feather at a time then?
I did, but then I would get lost on what one I was drawing. And with fur, it's so lovely and random, isn't it? You don't have to be particularly exact. Whereas feathers, there's that structure to them, which means that you can't really make it up as such. And I just find that so difficult.
I think that probably also comes with experience because you're more experienced drawing first. You sort of understand the way it forms, the direction of growth, like how it sort of is random. So you don't have to draw every hair, but I guess because it's your first time doing feathers, you don't have that understanding yet of its formation and growth and how it lies and layers against each other. So I think if you practiced it a lot more, then you'd sort of like understand that, and then you wouldn't have to copy everyone, I think.
I think there's definitely an element to it, and I've drawn some other birds since, but never with that sort of exact feather pattern. And
I hear you.
She's super judgmental looking. We call her Judgmental Juliet because that was the farm shop's called Juliet's. And she's just got that stare, like she looks like she wants to talk to the manager, and if you were the manager, you wouldn't want to be dealing with her.
Oh my gosh.
I've got her hanging above my drawing board so that
Yeah.
she sits there and judges everything I do.
Gosh.
And it motivates me because I'm
Is
like,
she
yeah,
your boss
Juliet
now?
said you've got to do this. There's no getting away from Juliet here.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
What about you? What's the one that's challenged you the most?
Um, well, I guess like you recently, I've tried to do feathers. I tried to do kingfisher feathers in one of the practice
Oh,
journals, the British Wildlife Practice Journal. And I've tried it twice. I still haven't got there yet. So I literally like I just started again. I was like, I hate this so much. It's been 2 hours and I've got nowhere with
yes.
it. So then I decided to come back to it, and I just literally started again.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I'll try a different technique. I like because the first time I just tried drawing layers upon layers and it just went muddy and it wasn't defined. So the next time I tried using the indent tool, and I thought, okay, if I indented all like the really, strong highlighted bits of the feathers and keep them white, maybe that will help me like later on.
Yeah.
But that didn't help. It helped a bit, but not as much. And then I was told that if I tried feathers on drafting film,
Yeah.
then I could use the slice tool, and that's just perfect for feathers because then you can just slice away and create those very sharp highlights that feathers have.
Yeah.
So I haven't tried that yet, but I was going to try it on pastel mat first because that was all on the Strathmore paper, Strathmore 500 series, that I use for all my commissions. So I will not be drawing a bird commission for anybody on that on paper because it just wasn't working on that paper. So I think it's more the paper rather than my technique at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try it on the pastel mat and see how that goes.
Definitely.
But yeah, feathers are hard.
Feathers are
When you've been
really
drawing
hard.
fur for years, it's just a completely new thing, isn't it?
Definitely is. And I think that's one of the things that's amazing about the practice journal is because you can cut out and you can put so you've put your pastel mat, I've put my drafting film down here.
Yeah.
Is that you can try it on different surfaces and you've got your reference and you can do it again, you can repeat it, you can see what works, you learn something from every drawing, don't
tear
you?
this out if it didn't work,
yeah.
and then just stick another one on top.
Stick another one, find out one
yeah.
that's better.
So you can eventually have a beautiful finished book, and you don't have to tell anybody, how many attempts it took.
No, exactly.
It's just for you.
Exactly. I really like that. And sometimes like you have to try different surfaces, don't you? Because you never know what's really going to work for you until you try it.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I've been doing. It's very fun. Like even, as I'd say I'm an established artist. I've been doing it for 8 years now. I feel like I can draw an eye with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
But I like testing out different techniques and different paper, trying to figure out how to be faster, I think, with still keeping the realism going.
Yeah. It's certainly, coloured pencils are certainly not a fast medium. You have to be quite patient, which is something that isn't a strength of mine in my general life. I'm not a patient person at all.
Same.
If only I had this skill to do this with everything. But my husband always describes my approach to everything as gung-ho and ham-fisted, where I don't really plan. I just dive in and hope for the best. And I kind of do that with my art. I do just get stuck in. There's not a lot of planning in the process. But
that's the fun of it, though. You don't really need to. I think sometimes it's good not to plan stuff.
Yes.
Because then you have no expectation, and it's just whatever the result, you're pleased you did it anyway. You tried.
Yeah. And you've got to have balance, haven't you? There's some of us in this world that are planners, and I am not one of them.
I also like to plan. I am a bit of both. Me and my husband are both enablers. So if you want to have a conversation with either of us about, doing something, we're enablers. We enable each other. We enable everybody else. So if you want to do something, we will convince you how to do it. That's just what we're like. So it doesn't help if we need to sort of like a sounding board sometimes of someone to tell us no.
Yeah.
Let's just think a minute.
So you're both like, let's do it, and just keep bounce
Yeah,
off each other like
exactly. I
that.
think that's why we've done so much.
Yeah, I think it's, life, you never know what life's going to throw at you.
Hmm.
And, we talked about code a little bit. That's changed a lot of things for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And in some ways, it's like an eye opener. If you just, we never would have thought that something like that could have
Mm,
happened. Um,
exactly.
and you just have to see these opportunities, and you don't know what you're missing out on if you don't try, do you?
Exactly. Even like these lives, like, it's so great that you said yes and took this opportunity to draw, live with me. And it means that we can have this conversation and form relationships and learn like about art with each other. And these are opportunities that you don't normally get just being an artist at home.
No, they're not. We are quite a lonely bunch, aren't we, really? Sitting in our houses
Mm,
by ourselves, just doing our own thing.
yes. So it's just nice to be able to do this and use technology. Let's use technology to our advantage
Yeah.
and do this.
Although technology doesn't particularly like me, if there's a chance for it to go wrong, it will. As we
Yes.
saw earlier, I did all my best efforts and it still had a tantrum.
Yeah,
So,
well, we've got to just take our wins, don't we?
any little win against technology, I think, is a pretty big thing for me. So,
So I'd love to
yeah.
know, what's your favorite part of doing a portrait?
Um, that's a tough one because I have lots of little favourite bits of each
Hmm.
bit of art. So
Okay,
I
like what?
really love, if you're handing, I absolutely love the end result when you're handing over a portrait and you see someone's, if you get to actually physically see someone's face and the result of it and their reaction, that's amazing.
Mhm.
Um, but probably you're much the same, that most of the time you post things out to people and you miss that,
Yeah.
which is a real shame. I love the learning process of it. I think even I've been doing this 4 years now, and I still learn something new from every single portrait that I do.
Hmm.
I try and really reflect when I've finished and look at things and go, oh, okay, well, what do I really like about it? What would I maybe do a little bit differently if I approached it again? Um, and what do I take from it that's positive? So I
Hmm.
think it's very tempting. We're often our own worst critics, aren't we? And it's tempting
Yes.
to sort of look and be quite critical of what you've done in your work. But I think you can make that a really positive thing and really look for the things that you love in it.
Mm, definitely. That's really nice. Self-reflection.
Yeah, just sort of that appreciating what you've done and
Mm,
what else you can do from it, really, I think.
that's lovely. Yeah.
What's your
No, I
favourite
agree.
thing to draw?
Just like out of anything.
Yeah.
Hmm. I guess I've always drawn tigers. Like ever since I was 2, like I found deep in boxes of years of me. There was this drawing, like a 2-year-old Sema of a tiger, and I thought, oh yeah, I've been drawing tigers for a long time. Like even before I became an artist, I was painting tigers with oil painting and graphite and just constantly tigers all the time,
Oh,
as well as
wow.
people portraits. I do like people portraits too, but I think that's why becoming a pet portrait artist has, I guess, started, like it just sort of fit with who I am, because I always used to draw tigers anyway,
Yeah.
and cats are very similar,
Yeah.
in their fur and the colors and the stripes. And I guess that's also why I've drawn like 60, 70 tabby cats now.
Wow.
It's just, yeah, like, and I think that's just because of, I guess, you sort of emit, I think. You put out there into the world and people get, oh, that person's probably really good at tabby cats because they've drawn these tabby cats. And I think, and then it just evolves and like, can you draw my tabby cat? And then it just starts, um,
Yeah.
rolling from there, of like just accumulating all these tabby cat drawings. So that's sort of what's happened with my career in the pet portraits, I've done mostly cats and mostly tabby cats within that. So it's very interesting. You can't really predict it.
No, I think there's definitely something in that. If you draw something a lot, then people see that, and then you find that you're getting more and more
Mm.
commissions of that thing. I went through a stage where I was just drawing endless, endless Dachshunds, and I absolutely love
Oh,
Dachshunds.
so
But
cute.
I did one, and then that was it. I just got lots and lots more requests for them, and then you get good
Mm.
at it because you're practicing and you're doing a lot of
Mm-hmm.
them. So yeah.
Oh, so sweet. I've only drawn one commission of that Dachshunds.
I hardly ever get cats. I've probably only done a
Oh,
handful of cats.
that's funny. Yeah, that's so strange. Yeah, I've done hundreds of cats. It's just crazy. I'm like a crazy cat lady, but with portraits.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, I love drawing cats. I think it's the eyes. They've always got such interesting eyes.
Yeah, they do. They've got beautiful eyes, and the colours in them are quite
Mm.
different to what you see
Well,
with other
even like
species as well.
today, like what we're drawing here with all these colours, this Labrador's got such beautiful colours in its eyes.
There's so many colours in there, aren't there?
Yeah, so that's interesting for a dog because normally it's just like brown, isn't it?
You do certainly. When you pull out a different colour, there's so many in my. I have to have all the colours, but
Mm,
there's so many that I've
obviously.
never used in the greens and
Mm.
pinky colours. But it's amazing
Unless you're
what you
doing
can find.
backgrounds.
Yes, you do some amazing backgrounds.
Oh, thank
I'm.
you.
I have like a real background fear.
Hmm.
If
I
there's
think you
any
just got
part
to
of a
start if you want
background,
to do it.
yeah, I mean, I've done a few when something needs grounding. If I've ended up doing a full body portrait that's needed some grounding, then I've
Yeah.
done just enough to do it.
Hmm.
But oh my goodness, they end up taking me longer than the actual subject. I posted one the other day and it's a cat, and it was like, oh, I remember the grass on the cat. And I was like, yeah, so do I. It took me twice as long as the cat, just the little bit of grass that it stood on.
Yeah, no, grass is hard. But yeah, I absolutely love doing backgrounds, especially if it's like a special place. So a lot of the time, especially in the last few years, I've had requests from clients asking me to draw their cat, but like in the garden, and then they send me a picture of like their garden. So the picture is not, it's not even a thing. Um, and I actually quite like making up compositions because it's challenging and it
Yeah,
gives like another dimension to, I guess, thinking as an artist. You have to think about lighting and composition and understanding, what would like that look like, in that position. And even like I had to draw somebody's two cats sitting on the bed. So I had the bed, a picture of the bed, a picture of the two cats, but separately, and I had to compile them all into one image. So you have to think, okay, well, how heavy is a cat sitting on a bed? Like, how much do I dent this bed by to make it look realistic enough that it's sitting on this bed? And I like thinking about things like that. It's not just like, here's a picture, draw it. So I think the more challenging it is and the more like awkward reference pictures there are, it does make it just a lot more fun. And that's what the backgrounds have given me.
definitely. I love a tricky reference. If you get a tricky reference photo,
Mm-hmm.
one that's maybe an older picture from when our cameras weren't so good, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
something that you've really got an opportunity to improve on what they've got,
Mm-hmm.
just to make that sort of that memory, you can make it crisper and clearer than it is. And I love
Yeah.
doing things like that. I think if you've got a really bad picture to work from, you can only make it better.
Yes,
And that's really
definitely.
satisfying.
Yeah. Have you ever had to turn anybody away because they just didn't have good enough pictures?
I
Like really
haven't.
bad.
I haven't ever done that. I
Mhm.
have had some really, really bad photos, but I've used it as a sort of an opportunity to develop
Mhm.
myself, to see
Mhm.
what I can do, what I can push myself to achieve,
Mhm.
um, and also for them to improve. I think it's so sad if you've got if your memory of your pet is a photo that's really dark or really blurry, I think that's so sad. And if you can
Yeah.
give someone something that's just got a little bit more to it, I think you're adding the life back in when you draw, because you're putting
Yes.
hours and hours of love and care and attention into the subject. And I think that shows, I think that reflects for the client as well.
Definitely, yeah. Tell me about your studio.
So I work in my living room. So
Huh?
I don't have a studio as such. I have a drawing board that is just next to the TV,
Yep,
next to the sofa.
perfect.
I do quite a lot of my work I do in the evenings, because I still work as well, albeit part-time. I often draw when I get home, and it's evenings, and we can put something on the TV, and then I'm not shutting myself away. I can still sort of interact with my husband a little bit and do some work at the same time. And I always feel like I seem like I work better if I've got other things going on around me as well,
Yes.
which is, it's weird. You think that I should be concentrating, but actually taking part of my brain away stops from what I'm drawing, so seems to stop me overthinking a little bit.
No, I'm the same. That's true. Yeah. Do you watch anything in particular, or listen to any podcasts or anything as well while you draw?
I tend to just watch things that are quite easy to follow, so that I don't actually watch it too much. I can sort of get the
Yeah.
gist of it with that. I love a serial killer documentary.
Yeah.
It makes me sound like a slightly crazy person, but
Yeah.
I quite like things like that when I'm working, or just something that's really. At the moment, I'm watching Gossip Girl,
Uh-huh.
which
The
on
new
paper, just
one or the old
the
one?
old one, I
Okay,
think,
good.
doesn't sound like my sort of thing at all. I'm not a girly girl. It's just not. But my sister told me to watch it, and I thought, oh, do you know what? There's quite a lot of series that will keep me entertained while I draw. It's easy to follow. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can't believe I've admitted that I've been watching Gossip Girl.
Yeah, you've admitted it in
of
front of
all the
many people.
things, of all the things in the world to be watching, I'm also watching a lot of the Olympics at the moment.
Ah, yes.
Love the Olympics.
Fantastic.
It's
I think
amazing.
it's too hard to draw while you're watching the Olympics though, because you're just like, oh my God, wow.
Yes, you do find a lot of the time that you're just sat there with a pencil in your hand watching TV rather than actually
Yeah.
getting a lot done. But I
Yeah.
love it. I'm very competitive, even about things that I'm rubbish and know nothing about. And this is a way for me to get that out of my system a little bit, watching other people exercise from the comfort of my own sofa.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Can't see my scroll. Oh gosh, you've got so far with yours.
It's it's just the base layers really, because I use the pan pastels, and that really helps me like achieve, I guess, a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And then it's just about adding all the details in to make it look more realistic.
Yeah.
So I started using pan
Beautiful.
pastels maybe like 6 years ago. They've really been a life changer for my process. Everybody does it differently, and I know that a lot of people like to just use color pencils with color pencils, but I like the idea of mixing mediums and trying things out. I've seen some other artists use like watercolor as a base and then color pencil over the top, or pen when they use the felt pens as a base and then color pencil over the top. I think it's quite nice to mix your mediums and try different things out to see what you can get.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I've never tried pan pastels, but I've looked at them quite a few times and thought, that's interesting. I'm not sure how they'd work on drafting film because it's so smooth. There's not
Yeah.
really that tooth. I think potentially I would just make a sort of smeary mess,
I
and I'm not
used to
sure that it would
use
take care.
them. I used to use them on Winsor and Newton super smooth Bristol board. And it's normally just like you're just blocking in a light layer of color, so it's not working directly on white. and that does save time, but I don't really know if it would even take on drafting film. I've never tried it, and I don't know anybody who has.
No, I don't. Well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there?
Yes.
Maybe I should order myself some and see, test
Yes.
it
Well,
out.
I've been meaning to try out drafting film myself actually. So at some point I'll what brand of drafting film do you use?
I always use the graphics drafting film, so it's
Right.
0.005 double matte,
Right.
and it's very durable. It's a little bit thicker than others that I've tried, and
Mm-hmm.
for the chronically clumsy amongst us, it's quite nice to have that something that feels quite durable. Um,
Yes, okay.
so yeah, it's just it. I love the way it goes down just so smoothly. There's no tooth. There's no texture to battle or anything like that, and you can still use plenty of layers. I think because I'm naturally quite light-handed, I've never had a
Mm-hmm.
problem of running out of layers with it.
Well, that's good.
But you never know. It was a real game changer for me, and I think again, you never know until you try something, do you?
Yes,
Whether it's going to work and whether it's going to suit you.
definitely. Like the surface takes like the first surface type can be as dramatic as like changing what kind like brand of pencil you use. It's just crazy how much it can change your technique and the outcome of your drawing.
Yeah, it does make a huge difference, and also the experience. You want
Mm,
to enjoy what you're doing, and I just get very, very frustrated if I'm battling any sort of tooth or grain on the surface.
mm-hmm,
Um, I started out I just grabbed whatever was there. So I started out drawing on pastel paper, and I got so frustrated trying to fill all of the tooth on that. I didn't
mm-hmm,
like the look of it being a little bit grainy. And then I tried the hot press watercolor paper,
mm-hmm.
and initially I really, really liked it because it was just that bit smoother and it didn't have the same level of grain. But I found where you had to burnish to really get the colours in, it was just making my hands hurt
Oh,
so much.
really? I've never tried that paper either.
So yeah, and then I tried this, and that was it. I was sold.
Hmm.
Absolute convert. I was like, this is the one for me. No
Yeah,
hand
it's hard to
pain.
go back, isn't it, once you find something that you really mesh with.
Definitely. And I have tried a few times with pastel mat because I just love the look of other people's work on the pastel mat, but I just get so cross with it.
Yeah.
I think I've been unlucky, and I've had a few bits of really, really grainy pastel mat as well that I've just not been able to smooth out no matter how many layers I put down on it, and
Mm. I
it's
can see that
ruined it a little bit.
when I'm doing it like quite lightly, like this is what 3 layers of color right here, and it's still quite grainy. So I do think that if you're quite light-handed, it sort of stays grainy for longer.
Yeah,
You have to be a bit more forceful with the pastel mat. That's what I'm finding anyway, right now.
that piece
So
that's just keep, but you know that you can get as many layers as you want on it, and if you
yeah,
make a mistake you can draw over it, and it's got almost like a lovely
it's a bit
velvety
more
finish, hasn't it?
forgiving.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's quite a forgiving surface, and everything
yeah.
about it makes me think I should like it, and then I just don't get on with it.
Yeah, I still don't like it enough to use it for my commissions yet. I still like the techniques and things I do with the Strathmore. And even before that, I used to use the Winsor and Newton quite a lot. I had that paper for 6 years and I didn't deviate. So I'm a creature of habit as well.
Yeah, I think you use what works for you, don't you? And
Mm,
especially with commissions, you can't really risk trying something on a commission and
yeah.
making a
Because if
mess
it
of it,
doesn't
can
work, you got
you?
to start again, like the whole
Exactly.
thing.
It's just too risky, isn't it, to do that?
Yeah.
You can see I'm just working absolutely all over the place here, putting in.
Oh, I like it. It's very similar to the way I work. I used to do that whole like working, finishing a bit and then moving on because it was good for taking pictures for Instagram.
It is definitely good for taking pictures because you can just see
Yeah.
them sort of growing and evolving. But
But then since it moved to all video
yeah,
and I didn't really do pictures anymore, then I just started like, because I think it is quicker if you build it up all together. And now that I have a child, I need to be quicker. So I just stopped bothering trying to do it pretty
yeah,
and just do it.
yeah.
Um, and I'm now stuck doing it this way. I can't do it the pretty way because I prefer doing it all together.
And I think you've got to do what works for you, haven't you? If it's quicker and
Yeah.
it's easier and you enjoy the process more,
Mm,
then that's what you should do.
definitely. I like that everybody, even though we're using the same mediums, we all do it in like totally different ways.
I think that's the beauty of art, isn't it? If you've got
Yeah.
that individuality, and even if everyone's using the same materials and the same reference photos, even if you're following a tutorial and someone's telling you how to do it and what to do when, you can end
Yeah.
up with everyone doing something totally different result. And I really love that.
Yeah, me too.
It's just,
That's what I've been finding so fun about these draw along live things I've been doing. Lots of artists. It's just so fun to see everybody's different techniques.
it's, I've seen quite a few of them, and everything that everyone's done just looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's been so fun.
It's really nice drawing an eye on this scale too. I've never done anything big. And I've been working on
Mm.
miniatures, like just constant miniatures for the last month or so. Actually, a
Oh,
couple of
have
months.
you?
Yeah, which is something a little bit new.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I guess they wouldn't take as much time, would they, the
no,
miniatures?
they don't. They're quite speedy, and it sort of happened by accident, really.
Mm-hmm.
As usual with
Mm-hmm.
me, accidental going into something new. I drew a horse for a friend of mine, actually the one who got me drawing in the very first place. Um, and it's the first time I've ever done a full body action shot of a horse. So
Oh.
it was A3, so it was a pretty big drawing in total, but the actual details of it, with it being full body with a rider and everything, the details ended up being really, really teeny tiny. And
Mm.
it was a challenge, but I was like, oh my God, I love this. I'm really, really enjoying doing this. And then I had a dog portrait straight after it, which was, again, it was full body. It was two full body dog portraits. So their faces ended up being really small. And I absolutely love that as well. So I thought, do you know what? I want to see if I really, really do enjoy this, whether my eyes hold out to it and get a bit of a feel of it. So I've
Mhm.
done lots and lots of practice ones for my colleagues at the vets and my friends at the stables. And now I'm ready to launch miniatures and add that to my line, because it's just like everything's a detail with a miniature,
Yes.
and
But
it's
also it's
so
more
fun.
about I guess getting the gist of fur and shadows rather than drawing every individual hair. So it's approached slightly differently, isn't
It
it?
is. I mean, I'm not sacrificing the details that I love. It's amazing how much detail I've managed to pack into tiny little miniatures. But also, everything looks so, so cute when it's on a really small scale. Just
Yes.
adorable. So yeah, it's all started by accident, but
Hmm.
absolutely love them. They're really fun to do.
Yeah, I did a miniature once for a lady who wanted a drawing of her cat in her locket. So
Oh,
it
wow.
was a 5 centimeter, so or that small
That is
drawing
so small.
of a black cat. And it's literally the smallest one I've ever done. And it was so fun, but my goodness, it was hard because it was a full body of the cat and it was the cat looking up. So it was almost like 3D with the shadow. And yeah, it was very interesting, but it was definitely tricky. It was my first time doing anything that small. Um, so I might try and do that again at some
I'd
point. But
love to see that. That is
yeah,
so tiny.
in the locket it was just very interesting and a fun thing to do, but a bit of a change.
Change is always fun. Anything just a
Yeah,
little bit different, just to challenge you and
yeah,
stretch you, is really nice to do.
definitely. Yeah, that's why it's so interesting working with people, I think, because you never know what they're going to ask you to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I really love being commission artist. Like I know some people find like they just don't want to do commissions because they don't like working like that closely with people or they find it too daunting. I personally just love it. Like I've even made friends with most of my clients and we like chat and send each other Christmas cards and it's just so nice.
It is. I absolutely love doing commissions as well. It is a challenge because things have to be a likeness, don't they? You're drawing an
Mm.
exact pet. But it is that the relationship you build with people, and also you're just meeting like-minded people, aren't you?
Hmm.
Everyone that commissions a portrait of their pet is someone that absolutely loves their animals. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm the same. I've made friends with people through it, and especially when you get multiple sort of repeat customers and things like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And it's just a really, I guess it's sort of like an odd way of doing art because before you've even drawn it, the person already loves it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yes.
they've given you the reference that they love. So it's almost like upside down. Like you're not like painting or drawing something and then hoping to find someone who loves it enough to buy it.
Yeah.
It's the opposite, isn't it?
It is the exact opposite. I've never thought of it like that before.
Yeah. So it's quite an interesting way. Oh gosh, it's nearly time.
I can't
Time
believe
has
how
gone
quick that's
very
gone.
quickly.
It's gone
Yeah.
so fast. I would have said
Oh,
I'd
so you're
been
working
drawing for
on.
about 10 minutes.
Yeah. I always think this, like, it's just because we're also chatting as well, it just goes so quickly. I love these shadows that are really making it pop now on that drafting film.
It suddenly comes together. I find there's quite a lot of the
Mm.
stage where I'm looking at things going, looks a little bit questionable. And
Mhm.
then suddenly you're like, there, that's it. That's what we're doing. It's where it's going. I think it's
Yeah.
really getting in the tones and the darks, isn't it? It
Yes.
just brings it to life.
Yeah, if you can get that contrast right, it makes such a difference.
And you can put a colour in and you think that you've gone dark enough. And then most of the time you just haven't. And then as you add the other
Mm.
darker colours around it, you can just keep going back in and making it darker and darker and
Yeah.
more
Well, that's
realistic.
why I like going back and forth. So you're sort of like not finishing an area and then having to go back to like sort of retone it because you realized it wasn't dark enough. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think that's it. It's all the lovely layers in, and
Mm.
it all just starts to look beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I want to get, it looks like almost like branches, isn't it? Reflecting in the eye. I
I
love a good
think
eye
so.
reflection.
Yeah. I think it may be grass or could be grass. It's very blue. It's a very blue reflection.
This is
That's what I'm seeing
lovely.
anyway.
I love a reflection. And when you get a commission photo and you
Mm.
can see, you can try and work out what the pet was looking at when the photo was taken.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
I feel like I've really procrastinated around making the area around the eye dark. I've sort of done
No.
everything but.
No, I really love it. It's just really like popping. It almost looks like you've got an eyeball on your page right now.
I wonder, I'm gonna have to stand up and see what it looks like. Oh yeah, it looks funny. It looks really different on the screen to what it looks like from the
Oh,
angle I'm
really?
drawing. I think I've got where I've put my phone to film is sort of where
Mhm.
my head would be.
Yeah.
So I'm sat a lot further back from my drawing than I
Oh,
generally would be.
same. That's why I don't really like recording my drawings because then I feel like I can't see anything.
And that's
I
really
can't see what
hard,
I'm
isn't it?
drawing. Yeah.
It's
It's like,
really
excuse me,
difficult.
phone. I'm trying to see here.
That's why I hardly ever record anything that I do. And it's so hard with Instagram wanting lots of videos from you.
Mm.
And the
It is nice that
cameras,
I can look back and see all these videos that I've attempted to make, because then it is nice to see, oh yeah, that I do have like a certain technique, or it's interesting to sort of see from that perspective, I think.
I always love seeing other people's processes and videos that they
Mm,
post. But when it actually comes to making them myself, I find no matter where I put the camera, it gets in my way. And I
mm,
constantly hit my head on it,
yes,
which isn't ideal.
yes.
Or I'm filming things and I've pressed the wrong button. I once did a
Mm,
whole like 5 hours stint of drawing
right.
and filming it to do a time lapse,
Mhm.
and it turned out I pressed the wrong button and I'd done the whole thing in slow mo.
Oh no, rather than like speed it up.
And you know what's so sad? I didn't even notice initially that that's what I'd done. I looked at it and thought, gosh, I know I'm not a fast worker, but this is really like, this isn't right.
This is very slow.
It's incredibly slow. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I've just done that. How ridiculous.
That's funny. Slow motion color pencil almost looks like real motion color
It
pencil.
does. And it was such a fail on the time lapse.
Oh,
I can't believe I've done that.
that's quite funny.
But
No, it
it's
is
definitely
hard.
it's difficult to the constantly changing algorithms, aren't there? It's difficult
Mm.
to keep up
But
with
it's
it.
sort of like the price you pay for free advertising, because at the end of the day, it is free. You
Yeah,
could pay for a magazine, and you could pay for, I don't know, some sort of advertisement that would cost you hundreds of pounds, or you could try and do social media algorithms that are free. You have to pay with your time of learning how to use it, but it's technically a free way of accessing customers. So, everything has a price, I
it's a
suppose.
really good way of thinking about it.
Mm. So there's a lot of people that, yes, it is frustrating and it is hard, especially, when you feel like, oh, the algorithm's against me. Most of the time, it's just because you're not seeing it the way that the actual, company is seeing it. So if you think about it, they're trying to keep people on their platform. So they want content that keeps people on there. So if you're doing stuff like, here's my thing, go to my website, they don't want to promote stuff like that. They don't want people to go to your website. They want people to stay on the platform,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So the more interesting stuff you have, the longer your videos, the more interesting your videos, then of course they're going to keep promoting people that have more views, because those are the people that are keeping others on the platform itself. So if you sort of think about it from their perspective, it helps you understand why, and then how you can improve what you're doing at the same time.
Yeah, well, that's a really good way of thinking about it. I can
Mm,
definitely see why you wouldn't want people going off it and going on looking at other people's websites. You want to keep people on the
yeah.
platform.
Which is why they've included like shop features and stuff now. They're trying to keep people on there for as long as possible. So they don't want people deviating to your Patreon and to your shop and to your stuff. So
There's
it's
so
better to
much.
not sort of like discreetly promote those things.
There's so much to compete with, isn't there? Which is
Mm,
tricky. TikTok and Facebook
mm,
and
mm. But then again, every platform has like a different audience that prefer it. So it's then about, okay, so who is my audience? So if I want someone to commission me, where do normally they contact me from? I personally get a lot of contacts through Facebook, because it's a bit of an older generation that prefer Facebook as a
yeah,
community-based platform. So there's no point me trying to go viral on TikTok, which is a much younger um, generation that enjoy TikTok. because they're not going to buy my commissions. So it's more important for me to concentrate on Facebook. So that's why I tell everybody to really think about, who are you trying to talk to? And then that will be the deciding factor on what you should work on, rather than trying to like do everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And cross-posting, it's useful, but if you've got people that follow you on multiple platforms, then I think it can probably be a little bit frustrating for them if they're seeing
The same stuff
thing
all the
over
time.
and over. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's finding, again, it's that balance, isn't it?
Definitely. It's just
Where you
about, I
spend your
guess,
time.
yeah, thinking and planning a bit more about what you're actually trying to do and what you're trying to achieve by doing a post.
Where's my purple?
Oh, we've gone 5 minutes over, but I'm just enjoying this so much. It's just so colourful. I feel like I've turned it into like some sort of rainbow eye.
I know, I just picked
You
up
know
a
what I
nice
mean?
bright purple too.
Yeah.
How
But we will finish up in a minute. I try and keep these to about an hour.
Yeah. I can't believe how quickly an hour's gone.
I know, right? We did have a bit of trouble at the beginning connecting, so let's just pretend that, you know, so we have to do a little bit longer just because of that.
Yeah.
But I'm having so much fun talking to you. It's been really lovely.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever done a live draw as well, so it's been a really different experience. Probably something.
How have you found it then?
I've kind of forgotten that there's other people here.
Mm-hmm.
I've been quite happily chatting and not really thought about it, to be honest. And it's because of that, I haven't really thought about how chaotic my process can be. And yeah, it's been really nice, really enjoyable.
I feel like
have to try and do
it reminds me of like the old days when you're on the landline and you're talking to your friends and you're like just chatting and doing stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's really nice.
The good old days.
Yeah. When you had to, if you wanted to talk on the phone, you had to make sure that nobody was on the computer.
Yeah. Which probably now makes sense to no one.
I know. Oh, the different challenges.
Yeah, but that's so what this live just reminds me of, because we're sort of chatting and we're just colouring and it's just very chill and fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely lovely. And I'm going to have to finish this as well, no matter how long it takes me to actually finish this.
That's fine. I would love for you to send me a picture when it is finished.
Oh, definitely.
So I can see. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody else that's joined us today. I'd love to hear what you thought, and if this yeah, let us know in the comments what you thought about this drawing, and give Harriet a follow as well. Beautiful Harriet with her lovely pet portrait commissions and equine art. If you would like to also do a live with me, then please DM me and we can chat and set up a time and a date. And for these practice journals, you can go to learnmycraft.com to get your own, or Amazon is also available on there. So thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Harriet.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been really enjoyable. Lovely way to spend a lunchtime.
So lovely. Yeah, I think I'll have to leave it there now and say goodbye.
It was lovely chatting to you.
Yes, you too.
Soon.
Have a lovely day.
You too.